Hello universe, my name is Rikkie, finalist to represent the Netherlands for Miss Universe 2023. I hope y'all had a wonderful Pride Month. For this Pride Month, Miss Universe asked us to describe ourselves in one word. The word I'm choosing is victory. Because as a little boy, I conquered all the things that came through my path. And look at me now, standing here as a strong, empowering and confident trans woman. Love is love. Be who you want to be. And never forget, always celebrate your pride.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about this Instagram post that I saw from CNN yesterday that I couldn't wait to talk about today. Okay, because this post on Instagram kind of backfired on CNN as they congratulated the first openly trans pageant contestant to win the title of Miss Netherlands on Saturday. Now, this person by the name of Rikkie Kolle will go on to represent her country in Miss Universe later this year. Now, CNN celebrated this as if it was some type of achievement, which, I mean, hey, I guess you could call it that. I'm not entirely sure, right? But they celebrated this, okay? They celebrated basically a biological male taking away a spot that traditionally, before the world went crazy, a woman would have, okay? This would be a spot that a woman would go on to the Miss Universe contest, you know, but no. Inclusiveness, right? Inclusiveness is the new gospel, right? Everything has to be inclusive, okay? Including beauty pageants, which again are traditionally reserved for biological women, right? And let's just say this did not work out well for CNN, okay? Let's read the comments here. The top comments are hilarious. The patriarchy wins again. Some dude wins a women's beauty pageant. The absurdity. Way to go, all you feminists out there. Use me as a dislike button. This is an insult on women. LOL, the best woman in the Netherlands is a man. Yikes. Huge leaps for women's rights. Sorry, I mean men's rights. I can't tell anymore. No hate, but I have a hard time believing not a single woman in all of Netherlands is more conventionally attractive than this person. Why don't they have a Miss Trans Universe? Because he is not a woman. If he was a woman, he wouldn't have to have surgery to be one. Yeah, so here's the thing. That's my whole point, right? I mean, look, here's the thing, man. Why can't you just have a Miss Universe pageant for trans women? I don't understand, right? I don't understand the argument against it, okay? There has to be enough trans people out there that want to participate in beauty pageants. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them out there. They're probably into this stuff, okay? In virtue of the fact that, you know, hey, they're biological males who happen to be more feminine, okay? That's, you know, part of the reason why they're trans. I don't understand why you just can't have a competition for them, right? And let them celebrate amongst themselves. But, you know, I actually do think I know why. And the reason why is because leftists simply wouldn't support it, right? If there was a trans Miss Universe where they only featured trans contestants, then the left would be forced to support it, right? They would be forced to show out and to come to these pageants and support something that, again, they claim they love so much, right? They love trans people and the LGBTQ community. So they would have to put their money where their mouth is, right? And if you look at women's sports, like, for example, the WNBA, we all know that the left, they don't put their money where their mouth is when it comes to supporting women, okay? Because they don't support the WNBA. They don't buy their merchandise. They don't buy tickets. They don't come out to the games. They don't do any of that stuff. They don't do any of the things that they need to do in order to help women's sports, right? But yet they'll complain about the gender wage gap, right? They'll say, oh my God, it's unfair that WNBA players get paid less than NBA players. When it's like, well, they just simply don't make enough money. They don't make enough money because they're not enough woke revolutionaries coming and watching their games, despite the fact that, again, these people claim to support women so much, but yet, again, they don't come out to the games. The same exact thing would happen if you had a separate trans category. The leftists quite simply would not show up to a all trans event, okay, whether it be a beauty pageant or some type of sport or whatever. They wouldn't show up, right? And then that would open up a whole nother can of worms in regards to, okay, why are you not supporting, trans people? And we all know how, trans people, a lot of these people, they're super passionate about this stuff. So they're going to get mad and they're going to get upset, right? And they're going to start accusing people of bigotry for not showing up to trans-only events, right? When the stadium or, the auditorium is empty, they're going to be pissed, right? So again, leftists, okay, they have an incentive to say, you know what? Let's just throw biological men in the same arena as women. Okay, we don't care about the consequences. We really don't care about women's rights, okay, or, women, having a right to compete amongst themselves or whatever. We're just going to throw biological men in there so that we don't have to deal with the consequences of having to support trans people if we made competitions fair, which the way to make it fair is for trans people to either compete based off their sex or to compete amongst themselves, which is something that the left really does not want. Okay, that's the common sense solution here. Trans people compete amongst themselves. So with that being said, there are some people that are speaking out about this on social media and claiming that, hey, they don't understand why this is a problem, right? They don't see why a biological male winning a beauty pageant among women is a big deal. They think it's different than sports. And it just so happens that the clip we're going to play here actually comes from a trans woman.
A transgender model won Miss Universe Netherlands this year, and conservatives are not too happy about it. There have been so many transphobic tweets just like this one where they're misgendering the winner and comparing it to physical sports, which I just think is a ridiculous comparison. In terms of more physical sports like football or swimming, I don't really know if we have enough research yet on HRT to know at what point it's fair for trans people to be competing against cis individuals in competitive sports. But beauty pageants just seem like a completely different story to me. Like if you as a cis woman lost a swimming competition to a trans girl who was twice your size, then yeah, I could totally see how we could have a conversation about some of the retained advantages through transition. But this is a totally different story. A beauty pageant is all about looks. I think a lot of conservatives, when they bring up this point, especially men, it seems like it comes from a super misogynistic place because they're like, oh, if men start taking over beauty pageants, then like, what do women have? And it's kind of like they're saying that a woman's entire self-worth is just based off of what she looks like. And that's really toxic. It's a super toxic mindset to have. Not to mention, aren't most trans women, especially those of us who had to transition later, aren't we kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to meeting the beauty standard anyways?
Yeah, so I just want to give a rebuttal to a couple of those points there, okay? Because this person claims that conservatives are being toxic, okay? Toxic when we say that, well, if biological males can win beauty pageants against women or compete in beauty pageants against women, then what do women have? And this person thinks that's a toxic mindset, but the reality is that that is a legitimate question because you don't see women going into men's areas and dominating men, okay? Even in a game like Jeopardy, in which you could argue that that is a game of intelligence or the ability to memorize, random facts or whatever, the top female, okay, is actually a biological male, right? The highest grossing female in history is a biological male at Jeopardy, right? Jeopardy. Okay, that's not a sport. Okay, that's not a sport. The reason why is because although on average, men and women are basically equal when it comes to intelligence. However, when you look at the upper and lower end of the spectrum when it comes to intelligence, you have more men present. So that basically means that when it comes to less intelligent people, you have more men. And when it comes to more intelligent people, you have more men, okay? But on average, it's about the same. However, that explains why a biological male can compete in a game show like Jeopardy, which, again, you can argue is intelligence, memorization, whatever, right? And they can dominate their female opponents. There's also a reason why most technological innovations of the 20th century came from men, okay? That is the reality of the difference between the sexes, right? There is a difference, and that is why it is not fair to have men competing against women, even when it comes to competitions of intelligence, even when it comes to things that don't have to do with athletics, okay? Because there are many differences, okay? So with that being said, this person also claims that, well, wouldn't it make it harder for a biological male to beat a woman when it comes to a beauty contest? And I'm like, come on now, right? You got to understand that that's not necessarily how it works, because we all know that in virtue of the fact that you have a biological male competing against biological women in a beauty pageant contest, what would happen, okay, if a trans person never won? There would be outrage, right? They would be claiming bigotry. Well, we're being discriminated against, right? Even though, again, beauty is subjective, but also to a certain extent, it's also objective as well, too. But we all know that if a trans person never won, that, again, there will be cries of bigotry. So therefore, you have to, at some point, allow a trans person to win so that there are no complaints. Also, on top of that, trans people, they get a bunch of surgeries and stuff like that. And it's like, well, that's not really their natural beauty because they have transformed themselves via surgery. Okay, they got a bunch of operations and stuff. So again, we all know that the standard here is not necessarily fair. They're not necessarily judging based off beauty as much as they're judging based off wokeness, right? And they just have to have a transgender person represent at Miss Universe, or else, again, they're going to be called bigots. So, hey, one of them has to win. And we all know how that works, right? Which, again, is taking away a spot from women. However, again, it's very interesting where this conversation is going in regards to the role of women in the future, or the future of women, because you even have cancer trusts coming out and suggesting that we replace the term vagina with bonus hole, right? Because we don't want to offend trans men who come in to get their bonus holes checked, right? So you don't want to offend them and say that, hey, you have a vagina, right? They don't want to do that. So they call it a bonus hole instead. And there are some women, even on the left, like, for example, Anna Kasparian, who realizes that the writing's on the wall, okay, when it comes to the future of women. And then you have some other women on the left, like Miss Emma Vigeland, who will go along with anything that transgender people demand, even if she as a woman may not necessarily benefit from it in the future.
I think that protecting, marginalized communities, protecting the transgender community is important. However, when you move out of or move far away from making sure that they are not denied housing, making sure that they're not denied healthcare, when you move into like these more fringe areas of there was a story out of the UK this week, blows my mind. There was an LGBTQ group in the UK who suggested that instead of referring to vaginas as vaginas because it might be offensive to transgender men, one of the potential replacements or substitutes could be bonus hole.
I would say I think there's definitely been like a shift in her politics. I think she'd even concede that, and it is what it is. It's not where I'm at right now. I'm not super concerned about humorous names like hole. What is it? Bonus hole for genitalia.
That's the new fun half.
To be honest, I feel like we should, but it's just fun. I think that's funny.
All right, guys, we're gonna head into the bonus hole.
Like if trans men, if someone called my genitalia bonus hole, I would think it's hilarious. But secondly,
no one will be doing that to you either.
Well, no one will, and also I actually think it's important to be super embracing of that kind of language because it's being used because trans men are like, my genitalia doesn't match with my gender, and so I'm going to make a joke about it, or it's going to be like, not a joke, but whatever. It's a term that's
lighthearted, good humor. Yes.
Yeah, taking ownership, exactly. So, that's where I stand, obviously. And like under the, I'll just say this one more thing. Yeah.
Are you saying you're not going to let the term bonus hole shape your entire politics?
It's hard to believe, but yes.
Oh my God.
What if we throw in a Latinx?
Bonus hulks?
Again, and also.
Yeah, so the obtuseness of that conversation, Emma Vigeland, it's just, it really blows my mind, okay? Because they try to pretend like the whole bonus hole thing, although small, is not a microcosm of a much bigger problem, right? In which we have, women and terms that we usually use to describe women or that are specific to women being erased because we have to coddle to a certain group of people, right? Apparently their feelings, trumps everybody else's, right? Including actual biological women. And it's people like Emma Vigeland who, goes along with anything that the woke revolutionaries want. She's not going to realize the white writing on the wall until it actually starts to affect her, right? The same way that it actually started to affect Anna Kasparian, and now all of a sudden she's doing a 180 when it comes to her political viewpoints. The same thing will happen with Emma Vigeland. However, it'll be too late, right? It'll be too late because we know where this is going, right? It starts with one small thing, but a whole bunch of different small things together becomes a big thing, right? And that big thing is only going to continue to grow, okay? Because again, as we see with all these so-called civil rights movements, enough is never enough, right? People who claim to be marginalized, who claim to be victims of society, they will continue to demand and demand more until they basically have everything, right? Until it's at the point where half of the contestants in the Miss Universe contest or whatever, they have to be biological men, because otherwise there's not enough representation, right? The same way that half of the people in an organization have to be black, or else there's not enough diversity, okay? You got to understand how this works. I can look forward into the future and say, okay, well, where does this go? The bonus hole thing is a small thing, but I know where it goes when you have a bunch of small things and you put it together, it becomes a large thing. And it's really a shame that you have some women out there that can't even see where this is going because they don't want to be called, bigots, right? They don't want to be called hateful. And it's really ridiculous. But hey, I only can care as much as some women care, right? If women don't care, if the people at these pageants, the women at these pageants refuse to speak up and to say, you know what, I'm not okay with this, we want separate competitions, then who am I to care, right? It's not like I really watch these shows, but I'm actually less likely to watch it, way less likely to watch it if biological men are competing in these shows. Because again, I'm just not into that, right? As a man, I don't want to go to a beauty pageant and watch men. I want to watch women, biological women. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.